What's up, guys? Today we are doing something that has been much requested. A lot of people have been asking me, when you gonna do a tier list now that GT Goku is out? Now that we've had some time with all the big balance changes, do another tier list. That's what everyone's been saying. So here we are. We're doing a tier list here. We're just gonna be ranking the characters. As normal, we have sort of this x-axis of good support and bad support. So if you have a good assist, if you have good Z-change synergy, stuff like that, you're going to be going over here on the right. If you have terrible assist and Z-change synergy, you're going to be going on the left. And then up and down is just how good the character is. Pretty self-explanatory. So let's go ahead and get started here. So I think first of all, we're going to start with who I would consider to be kind of like the 5 gods of the game. So first of all, we've got Gotenks, who I think is very, very good. One of the best characters in the game, amazing neutral, great assist, feels pretty self-explanatory. Piccolo, we're putting up here. His loops are basically insane, probably the best snapback loops in the game, and his assist is pretty amazing too. I used to not think this assist was that good, but it really stops the opponent's options, the slow-moving ball. It can be difficult for a lot of characters to deal with, so Piccolo's up there. We've got Kid Buu. Perhaps an even better assist than Gotenks, and an amazing point character, really hard to block, really hard to deal with, lots of damage, and a really great lockdown assist that really lets you get some stuff started. Kid Buu's up here. Adult Gohan, where is he at? Adult Gohan will put about like here, one of the best point characters in the game. Formerly having a really good assist, it's still pretty decent, but I think removing the invincibility was a pretty big nerf. So we're going to throw him up here, but in terms of being a point character, definitely one of the best in the game when paired with some good assists. And then finally, best character in the game, in my opinion, I'm calling it with Bardock. You know, I'm sure this is pretty expected, but Bardock is just an incredible character all around. Great assist, obviously really great on point. Probably the best neutral in the game, but still has really good damage, really big normals. Instantly closes the gap, hit confirm from full screen. What is there left to be said about how amazing Bardock is? So, you know, formerly I usually put Gotenks first, Piccolo maybe first, but at this point I'm starting to just say I think that Bardock is the best character. He's just too solid. While these other characters might have some really, really strong setups, strong loops, you know, abusable assists, that kind of thing, I just think Bardock is all around best character in the game, probably the most valuable character to just put on your team in general. So Bardock's up there. So I would consider these 5 to be like, this is like the Magneto, Storm, Sentinel, Cable of this game. These are the 5 gods right here. I think these guys are definitely the strongest characters in the game, and if you're trying to build a top tier team, I think they're pretty much no-brainers. But that's not to say that these next characters aren't really good too. We're going to start building out sort of this next tier here that I would consider to be the really, really strong characters, the really, like, characters where you're not compromising anything by putting them on your team, but I feel like they're not quite as good as these boys. And that's going to start with Super Saiyan Goku. I think probably the best support character in the game is Super Saiyan Goku, so really I can't, like, put him far enough to the right here. We'll even squeeze him in right over here. Really incredible character. As a point character, he's not, like, amazing, but he's great at making comebacks because his neutral is so solid. His level 3 is pretty great. Hit confirm off of, like, any hit into a sliding knockdown into a level 3 if he's got the meter, and one of the best assists in the game. So Super Saiyan Goku, I think, belongs up here. Another character who I put up here is Android 16. Android 16, kind of forgotten these days, it seems, but he's still an absolute powerhouse with incredible normals, hard to deal with armor, pretty good projectiles, great level 3, and a pretty strong assist as well. So not too much negative to be said about 16, so that is why I am sliding him in right up here. And next up, we've got a new addition to the list here. We've got GT Goku. So, you know, I think a lot of people consider GT Goku to be one of the best characters in the game. I think he's just got a few more flaws than these guys who I put up in this sort of god tier section. He just has a few more issues. Like, yes, I know that he is really, really good when paired with assists, and I know that he has a great assist himself. I just think he does have a couple really small issues. For example, I don't think his neutral is that amazing. Obviously, he does have some neutral tools like the Power Pole and like Kamehameha. But in general, I would say that pretty much all 5 of these characters up here have better neutral than GT Goku, as well as Super Saiyan Goku definitely has better neutral. But he's extremely damaging, amazing mix-ups once he makes you block, a great assist. Do not underestimate this assist. I think that just any character, and then GT Goku, and then Super Saiyan Goku, I think that's one of the best shells in the game, because their assists really complement each other, and by putting GT Goku second, you're enabling a lot of damage whenever you get a hit with that first character. So I think he's a really amazing character. I don't really think he's like nerf worthy. I don't think he's quite as good as these 5 gods up here, but he is extremely strong regardless, so that's why I'm putting him sort of in this like top tier but not quite broken tier right here. And then one more character I want to throw up here is Cell. So Cell, you know, we pretty much all know he's kind of a hard character to play. He kind of requires assists to get things done in terms of like damage and mix-ups and that kind of thing. You're not really going to want to be making a comeback with Cell as the only character alive. But when paired with good assists, you know, like I mentioned, you compare him with GT and Super Saiyan Goku, that is an insanely broken team. So when paired with the right assists, Cell becomes a real problem. Very damaging, great normals, incredible normals, very hard to block, and then when he does hit you, he is just going to wreck shop. So Cell is going right up here. So now that I've got what I would consider to be the best characters in the game, now that I've got them up here, let's just kind of start randomly throwing people up here. First of all, we'll start with Crillon. Unfortunately, I think Crillon is a strong contender for worst character in the game. I don't think he's unplayable. I just think that generally you have to work really hard to get much done with him. His damage is pretty poor. He can't really do anything without assists. Like, I've said that characters like Cell, or characters like, you know, Adult Gohan, they get a lot better with assists, but they can still do stuff without assists. But I don't really think that's the case with Crillon. He can't do much of anything with assists, it feels like, in terms of mix-ups and damage. He just really relies on assists to get anything done. And his assist is pretty bad. They did buff the rock throw. It's better than it used to be, but it's still quite bad. So I think his neutral is solid, but that's not quite enough to make a character good. If you can't open people up very easily, and if you can't, you know, get anything off of stuff like Solar Flare without assists, and you can't really do any damage without assists, that's a pretty big downside. So he's going all the way down here. He's just pretty hard to fit on a team. I think you almost always want to run him first slot because his assist is so bad, and that really limits your team building choices, especially when you've got such amazing point characters up here that you could be playing instead. Another contender for worst character in the game, I'll go ahead and throw down here, is Base Goku. So a lot of people get mad when I say Base Goku's terrible, but he's just not a good character. Listen, like, his confirms are pretty weak. He has a hard time converting into damage off of anything. His assist is much worse than it seems. A lot of people thought that he would be like a good support character when he first came out, but I don't think that's the case. I think his assist is pretty poor. You can make it work in certain situations, but the fact that it sends them full screen on hit is just not that desirable. It's not something that you're looking for, and it makes his assist pretty hard to confirm off of. And one of his biggest downsides is that his level 3 is not good. Like, the difference between his level 3 and GT Goku level 3 is pretty vast. Like, I don't know why they made his Spirit Bomb so bad if they were going to make GT Goku so good. You can't use it on Wake Up. It's very difficult to combo into, and it's not really worth all the effort for the slight damage increase, as opposed to GT Goku, who can combo into it a lot more easily. He can combo into it solo without too much trouble, and he gets insane mix-up off it, or he can combo off it. Pretty nuts compared to what they gave to poor little Base Goku here. So I think Base Goku, pretty awful. You can make it work if you try really hard, but I think generally you're just going to be working a lot harder than you would be with either of these two Gokus up here. Next up, we've got Team Gohan. There's a lot of hype behind Team Gohan after the big balance patch. They gave him a lot, and I think it's pretty well justified. I think Team Gohan is a pretty great character. I think I'm going to put him like right about here. We might adjust this later, but yeah, his assist is not super great. Even though his assist is invincible and Adult Gohan's assist isn't, I still think the fact that Adult Gohan's assist is a lot faster and it comes out at generally a more favorable angle for catching the opponent in the air. I think Adult Gohan assist is still slightly better. But Teen Gohan, great point character. Auto combo is very hard to deal with. Legs pressure, very hard to deal with. And very, very damaging. Why are all these tiny characters so damaging? Like, these are two of the most damaging characters in the game right here. GT and Teen Gohan. Meanwhile, Crillon is like one of the least damaging characters in the game. Despite him being really stubby. But anyway, Super Saiyan Vegeta I think is about that good too. Obviously, a much better support. One of the better supports in the game for sure. I think he's like viable, absolutely viable as one of the best point characters in the game. I just don't think he's as good as someone like Super Saiyan Goku or also Yamcha. Yamcha, probably the second best support in the game behind Super Saiyan Goku. And certainly no slouch as a point character too, as like a comeback character. You've seen me make a million comebacks with this character, and that's not just because I've been playing him for a long time. It's because he's pretty gifted at it. He doesn't really rely on assists to do mix-ups. Yes, they did nerf his instant cross-up Wolfang Fist, but it's still very hard to react to, and he's still very hard to deal with when he makes you block. Even without assists, it becomes a really scary guessing game when you're blocking Yamcha. So that combined with having one of the most broken assists in the game definitely makes Yamcha a powerhouse. Next up, we've got Frieza. So, you know, another character that I like to kind of badmouth, and a lot of people get upset when I do so, but I still think that Frieza is pretty darn bad. I don't think he's as bad as these two Cellar Dwellers, but he's still pretty bad. But I am going to put some respect on his assist. I think his assist is quite strong. It lets you do some unique stuff that pretty much no other character can, but I don't think that's enough to sort of elevate him beyond kind of this low tier. You know, the game is just working against him. When you're risking a lot to throw projectiles, you're risking a lot in the sense that one super dash or like one Goku assist that hits you or whatever is going to hurt a lot and potentially lead into a crazy mix-up that loses you the character. When that's what you're risking, and your reward is what, like 25% of their life bar and then a sliding knockdown that you can't really mix up off of, like, it's just out of his favor. So yes, he can control the screen very well, but he's constantly risking just dying. One mistake from Frieza can pretty much end Frieza's life, whereas one mistake from the opponent against Frieza, it's not the end of the world. It's not like he's going to be killing you off it most of the time. So that's why we're putting him down here, but once again, I do acknowledge his assist is quite good. You can do really unique and cool stuff with his assist, so I like that. Next up, another character who I think belongs down here is Majin Buu. So I kind of defended Majin Buu after the nerfs. You know, I was like, don't write him off as immediately dead. Just because he's worse than he used to be doesn't mean he's like unplayable. And I still think that's true. He's not unplayable, but for a character with a fairly weak assist, you have to be really strong otherwise to make up for it, because as I was kind of alluding to earlier, there's a lot of competition for strong characters in the first slot. So for a character like Majin Buu, who you mostly are only going to be playing him first slot, maybe second slot, and then you kind of have to build the team around him to a certain extent. He requires certain assists to do particularly well, especially assists like Yamcha or Videl that leave the opponent standing. For a character that you have to build around, and they don't offer that much in terms of support to the other characters, that's kind of a tough sell. So I think the nerfs to his mix-up hurt him a lot. I don't think he's unplayable, but I think that generally you're going to be working a lot harder with this character than you would have to with a lot of other characters. So that's kind of a tough sell. And his assist is definitely pretty weak, so that's why I'm putting him down here. Another character who has seen quite a meteoric rise lately, post-patch, is Blue Goku. I think we're going to put Blue Goku all the way up here, actually. He's very, very good. Definitely the best point character Goku. Obviously not as good of a support as Super Saiyan Goku or GT Goku. Actually, GT Goku might be a better point character than Blue Goku. And he's definitely a better assist as well. So a lot of the shine has gone away from Blue Goku after GT came out, but he's still a great character. Don't write him off. He's still kind of like Bardock Jr., you know what I mean? He doesn't quite have the amazing normals and assist of Bardock, but he's pretty hard to deal with once he gets in. Strong mix-up, huge damage, and a really fun character to play. So I'm putting him up here. Maybe his assist is like a little worse than like Teen Gohan, but it's not an unusable assist. You can use it in block strings. You can use it for certain combo enders for characters who struggle with sliding knockdowns. But really, there aren't that many of those anymore. They've added easy sliding knockdowns to a lot of characters that struggled with it. So yeah, his assist has some value, but it's not like amazing. But as a point character, he is pretty amazing. So he's going all the way up here. Another character who I think is, pretty good on this upper half here is going to be Trunks. So Trunks is a pretty good support, and he's a pretty good point character. He is not really incredible at either. He's not like top tier quality at either point, but he's very well rounded. And he's pretty good at making comebacks with sparking. His assist is pretty useful and hard to deal with, very fast, covers a lot of screen space. He's got huge normals, he's got good projectiles, he's just got a lot going for him. I think generally like his biggest problem is lack of mix-up, but with assists you can do some pretty crazy mix-ups with like his flips and stuff, and with sparking on, his mix-ups are actually really ridiculous. So I think he's a pretty good support character. I think he's just a good character to kind of put on your team if you need a good assist, but I don't really think that he's as amazing as some of these other guys. But I think he's definitely solid, probably a little bit above average. Alright, let's start filling in sort of this lower average to below average tier right here. I think we're going to throw Blue Vegeta. I'm going to put like right here. Pretty bad support. His assist is pretty awful compared to the other Vegeta up here. But as a point character, he's no slouch. He can get it done. I think the patch improved him overall, giving him stuff like better command throw mix-ups, some kind of cool new combo routes involving his wall bounce and stuff like that. I think he's an improved character, but he's still, not that compelling to play over the other Vegetas. But as you'll see in a minute, it's definitely not as big of a gap as it used to be. So he's not a bad character by any means. He's just kind of tough to build around because of his bad assist, and he doesn't really have anything super broken to make up for the fact that he has one of the weaker assists in the game. So he's down here. I think a below average character, but definitely not unusable. I guess while we're talking about Vegeta, we may as well talk about Base Vegeta. Base Vegeta pretty heavily nerfed by the patch. I think most people agree. One of the hardest hit characters. They took away his mid-screen loops for the most part. I know that he can get some weird mid-screen stuff now, and he can still do corner loops, but definitely his potential to like get all the way across the screen in one combo and do a lot of damage to you at the same time is heavily nerfed, and he's just not that compelling of a character to play, when you have all these other really busted point characters. I feel like I say that all the time, but if you're not bringing a lot to the table in terms of support, you better be a really good point character to make up for it. And he's fine, but he's not that good. But his assist is definitely better than Blue Vegeta, but I don't think really as a point character. I think these guys are actually pretty neck and neck now. I would maybe give like the slight edge to Base Vegeta, but yeah, they're pretty close. I think like his Ki Blast maybe makes him a little bit better, but at the same time, Blue Vegeta has got command throw mix-ups and is maybe more damaging outside of the corner, but anyway, I think they're pretty close, so I'll put him like right here. His assist is not awful, but it's really only good for like block string and combo extensions, and it's not amazing at that either. So it's like a decent, maybe slightly below average assist, and I think he's maybe like a slightly below average point character as well. Next up, I guess we can talk about Goku Black. Goku Black, I think, is maybe not as bad as like these guys. I've been talking about this a lot lately, how I feel like the fact that Super Saiyan Goku exists tends to make people underrate Goku Black. If Super Saiyan Goku was deleted from the game, I think most people's opinions of Goku Black would go up. And I think that when you're making a tier list, you should probably be pretty objective. You shouldn't be saying that this character is bad because there's another character that does what he does better. Because who knows, Super Saiyan Goku might get nerfed into oblivion. If they make like Fighters 2, Super Saiyan Goku might get destroyed by Balance Patch. And then all of a sudden, Goku Black's kind of compelling because he'll be the best character in the game with like that particular beam assist. So I think as a point character, he leaves a lot to be desired. Pretty hard to open the opponent up, and not really even that rewarding when he does. But as an assist, very, very good. Don't write that off. And he has good normals, so it wouldn't take that much for Goku Black, I think, to become a pretty competitive character in terms of balance changes to him and to his big brother Super Saiyan Goku. it wouldn't take that much to see him become good. So I don't think you should write him off just yet, because really you can't underestimate the power of that assist. All they would have to do is give him some better mix-ups, maybe a little bit better like Z-change potential. All of a sudden you'd have a pretty good character on our hands. So I do think that he is one of the less good characters in the game, but he's certainly not unplayable. And man, that assist. That's the only like, if he didn't have that assist, he would be like down off the bottom of the screen here. But with that assist, you know, you can't underestimate such a powerful beam assist. So he's going right here. Android 18, I think a pretty great point character. I think as a support, you know, her assist is occasionally very useful. I just think it's like a little bit less consistently reliable as some of these other assists. So, but a good point character for sure. I think I'll put her like right about here. As a point character, she is very strong. Maybe slightly nerfed by the big balance patch, but she got some other stuff in exchange too. So I think maybe her like Android 17 mix-ups are not quite as good as they used to be, but she can still do a lot and be a pretty awesome character if you're willing to put in the time. So I'm putting her right about here. I think she's good. I don't really think she's like top tier, but she is quite good. Another character I think is quite good is Android 21. I think I'll put Android 21 like right about here. Her assist is actually pretty good. I feel like this is one of the more underrated assists in the game, but it's quite good. It's very fast. It obviously reaches full screen. Fast projectile, easy to combo off of. It does a lot of hit stun now, so you can use it in a lot of combo situations. And then as a point character, you know, she's got huge normals, she's got good mix-ups, and she gets insane-o damage off of anything, especially now with all the buffs that she got, the new ability to combo off of command throw better. She does crazy damage, so I'm putting her pretty high up here. I think this might be like an unpopular opinion. Maybe other people don't think that she's this good, but I definitely think she is. So I am putting her right up here. You know, she's mostly a point character, I would say, but she's a pretty good one. She does a ton of damage, and she's pretty hard to block and deal with when she gets in on you. So 21 right up there. Next up, I guess I'll do Videl. I think I'm going to put Videl right about here. This might be another one that people are like, wow, so high for Videl. I think we might need to like adjust this a little bit. Maybe we'll put it like kind of like this. Videl assist is good, but it's not really in the same league as someone like GT Goku, so maybe I'm kind of overrating these assists a little bit. There we go. So yeah, Videl, a pretty good point character, I think. Especially with assists, she can be pretty hard to block. And with clean hits, she can do quite a bit of damage. Really crazy corner carry. Really good mix-ups off her level 3 in the corner. Just generally, I think she's a very good point character. Her assist is no slouch either. It's kind of like baby Bardock assist. Bardock assist is a lot faster and it reaches further. But her assist can basically accomplish the same things. It's just a little bit less effective. So I think she's a good synergistic character. She's not that hard to fit on a team because her assist is so good. And she gets a lot better with meter, so I think she's a good second slot character. That's why I play her on my team. I just think she's pretty strong. Hard to block, big damage in the right situation, good assist. You know, these are the recipes for a pretty good character. I don't quite think she's broken. I think maybe she's not top 10. If I had to pick what character in this tier I would slip into top 10, I would probably say Yamcha. And then these guys are the other 9. So she's not quite top 10, but she's very good. I think she's an underestimated character generally, and I think she's pretty strong, so that's why I put her up here. Next up, we've got Broly. I think I'm going to put Broly right about here in the middle. Broly assist is fairly good. I don't think it's amazing, but it's fairly good. And as a point character, he's fairly good as well. He's a little bit difficult to play, but he's pretty scary once he gets in, and his neutral is pretty hard to deal with for a lot of characters. His ki blasts are really abusive, and then his armored projectiles and stuff like that are hard to deal with. And then once he gets in, you know, the command throw is technically reactable, but it's pretty hard to react to, even by good players. You still see good players get hit by that. It's not that unusual. So he's pretty scary once he gets in, and his neutral is very annoying, and he's got a pretty solid assist. So I would say he's a pretty solid character. I'm putting him squarely like halfway up the screen here. That's where I'm sneaking in Broly. I think he's a good character for sure. I just don't quite think he's like broken material. He does have some pretty big flaws. Like he needs to use meter in most of his combos to get damage, so his meter building is fairly limited. And he has some really awkward normals, like his launcher is kind of particularly awkward. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want. And his standing light is a little bit awkward, misses on some smaller characters a good deal of the time. So he does have some issues, but overall a very good character, I think. I'll put him right about there. I also think Cooler is pretty solid. I think maybe I'll put Cooler like right here. The assists are getting kind of weird here because it's like, is Broly assist really better than 21? I don't know. Maybe we'll like slide Broly like right there, then put Cooler like right here. It's kind of hard because it's like, do I think Cooler assist is better than 16? Probably not. But I don't really know like how far to the left to put him before it's like, it's not as bad as these guys. I don't know. Whatever. We'll put him like right. These guys' assists are pretty close too. I don't really know who is the better support out of them. Kind of my gut instinct says Cooler, but they're very close. So anyway, Cooler as a point character is pretty decent. He can make you block for a long time. He can keep himself plus a lot of the time. He has perhaps the best Dragon Punch in the game. His Dragon Punch is very strong, and he can get a lot of damage off it too. Don't underestimate the power of that invincible Dragon Punch. But he does have some issues. Pretty hard to open people up, being a character with no low hitting down light and also no command grab or anything like that to make up for it. He does have stuff like 6H, which is a low, and you know, his dive kick is an overhead and it's plus on block. So he does have some kind of tricky stuff. I would say his biggest problem is definitely opening people up, however. But you know, he's just a very solid character. I think his neutral is very good. I think his assist is solid. I think he's a good addition to a lot of teams. I just don't think he's like particularly amazing, so that's why he's going right here in this sort of center category here. I guess we can talk about Jiren. While we're talking about characters who suck at opening people up, Jiren, that's definitely his biggest problem. His command grab is just too slow. His 5H is so slow, and they did buff it, but I don't think it was enough. I think his 5H is still way too reactable. People can kind of just block this character all day. He is pretty good if he makes you scared to block somehow. If for some reason you are inclined to press buttons while you're blocking Jiren, you're going to get hurt pretty bad for it. He's very good at punishing that. It's just he's not that good at punishing just blocking. It could be pretty difficult, but you know, with assists and stuff, maybe you can make it happen with like cross-ups, that kind of thing. He can, you know, he can get you if you're you know, a little bit panicked, but it's hard to open people up. But his counters are very strong. His assist is very strong. Don't write off his assist. A lot of people compared it to Yamcha assist, but it's not quite. Yamcha assist leaves them standing. This launches them really far, makes it a little bit hard to combo off of. But you can do some pretty insane combos with this. Because it does a lot of hit stun, even at the end of really long combos, you can use this for some pretty unique combos that no other character can quite pull off. So his assist is pretty valuable. He just really sucks at opening the other person up. I really hope that they give more buffs to his command throw, because I think he needs it. Like, how are you going to get opened up by this character because his command throw is so reactable? That's kind of the big issue, but other than that one flaw, I think all around he's a pretty strong character. So if they can fix that one thing, he'll probably shoot up in the ranks. But for right now, I'm putting him down here in kind of this lower section with the not so amazing characters. Speaking of not so amazing, I think we're going to put Tien right about here as well. Maybe another controversial opinion. A lot of people love Tien. He's a big fan favorite. I just think that his neutral leaves a lot to be desired. Yes, he does have a beam, but it is a very, very weak beam compared to, say, the Gokus. It's very slow, it's a lot more punishable, and it's only one hit, so you don't have the ability to counter or to hit confirm off it the way you could off of someone like Goku or Gotenks. And like, he has a hard time getting hits, I feel like. Yes, he does have a low hitting down light, and he has some tricky stuff, like he has an overhead, he has a command throw, but these are all reactable. He's not amazing at getting hits, and he's not that good at like closing the gap and getting in on you, especially with no assists. And usually a lot of people want to run him last because he is like a good assist. His assist is pretty strong, don't get me wrong, and he does a lot of damage, so he's kind of good to have on your team to add extra damage to your combos, because he can do his double level 1, that adds a lot of damage. He can do like, you know, both of his level 3s are extremely damaging, so he's a big damage character. I just think his neutral is kind of whack, and he's not that good at getting hits either, so that's why I'm putting him all the way down here. I know this might hurt a lot of Tien fans. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments. I just don't think that he's a very good character generally. As for characters who are pretty good, Zamasu's pretty good. He got a lot of buffs. His assist is pretty useful as well. I would say it's like about as good as 21. I'm pretty comfortable with his assist being there. And as a point character, he's pretty good as well. He can make you block for a really long time. He's got a very high utility level 3. He's got a very high utility level 1 with his sort of Blades of Judgment thingy. And he can be a pretty tricky character to deal with. He also very, very damaging. If you optimize his combos, he can pull out some pretty insane damage. I would say his only issues are he's got some fairly awkward normals. But they did buff his down heavy a lot, which I think was probably the biggest change that he needed. So, you know, his neutral's not incredible, but once he gets in on you, he can be a pretty tough character to deal with. He can whip out a ton of damage, and his assist is pretty solid as well, so I'm putting him up here. Zamasu, a difficult character to play, but I think now that he's gotten a lot of buffs, he's a pretty rewarding character if you do play him, so I'm putting him right there. Let's talk about Android 17. Usually considered like the worst character in the game before. He got a decent amount of buffs. I think he's definitely at least one tier up from where he used to be. Perhaps the biggest change was to his assist. He used to have, I think, easily the worst assist in the game. His assist used to be even worse than Krillon's, if you can believe that, but it's pretty nice now. It comes out really fast, it eats more hits, you can use it for sort of punishing the opponent for pressing buttons in a lot more situations. You can even punish Vanish with it pretty easily, so that's cool. It's a very cool assist, and as a point character, I think he still has a lot of issues, but he can do a little bit more stuff now, so I do think that he's still not great, but he's not like unplayable. He's playable. It just requires a lot of effort, so that's why I'm putting him down here. Another character who got a lot of buffs, but still I don't think is that good, is Beerus. So I'm a little bit torn between these two tiers for Beerus. I guess I'll just go with my gut and put him like right here. I think Beerus is pretty weak. He's better than he used to be, but he's still pretty weak. It's a lot of effort for not too much of a result. I feel like they gotta like rework Beerus or something. He has some problems. It's just like something core about his game plan is just not that rewarding in this game. I feel like you know, if you're not rushing the opponent down constantly, it's a little bit tricky. And his rush down is not like amazing. So yeah, his neutral is just kind of awkward. He's not that damaging. He can do some really big damage in the right situations, but it can be a little bit difficult. His assist is pretty weak. Maybe not as bad as like Buu or these really bad assists, but his assist is pretty weak. He's just not great. The buffs helped him, but he's still, you know, not a great character, so that's why I'm putting him down here. And then probably the last of the sort of low tiers here, I think, is Nappa. Nappa assist is pretty decent. Don't get me wrong there. And he's very damaging. I've said before, I think Nappa is like one of the best characters in the game as long as he's already hitting you. If he's already hitting you, he's great. He does a lot of damage, and he's probably going to set up some pretty good Oki with tricky stuff that he can do with his Cybermen and stuff like that. And every crazy damage combo is going to lead into a hard knockdown, or a sliding knockdown, I mean. So he's got some cool stuff. It's just that actually hitting you can be a little bit hard. He's got, you know, a lot of lows, which is kind of cool. Maybe he's a little bit hard to block, but I just think his neutral is pretty whack. Doesn't really have very good projectiles to use in neutral. He can be a little bit like sluggish and hard to get in with, so we're putting Nappa down here. I don't think he's maybe as bad as these guys, but he's definitely not like an amazing character. But if you really put in the time and optimize him, he can be a big threat because, you know, like I said, once you get that hit, the opponent really needs to be scared because they can die pretty fast once he's hitting you. It could just be a little bit of a problem actually doing that. So Nappa's down here. We got 3 guys left here. Captain Ginyu, I think, is a strong character. I think I'm going to put him up here with Zamasu. These kind of middle tiers are getting really crowded. Maybe I can, like, I don't know, separate this out into a new tier. We'll see how I'm feeling at the end. But Ginyu, great point character. Really great point character. Ginyu Force can be pretty oppressive and hard to deal with in terms of block strings. His assist is like so-so, and I don't think he's like broken enough to make it up here, but he's a very solid character that can be pretty crazy in the right hands. Hit, I think, probably belongs right here in this middle part. Hit's another like good point character with a few flaws and a pretty weak assist, so I think he belongs like right about here. His assist is not unusable, but it's not great either. I don't have a lot to say about this character. I think, you know, generally he's good, but he does have some pretty big flaws in terms of like his ground-based gameplay. He's not that good in the air, doesn't have any fast lows, stuff like that, but he can be a little tricky to deal with. And then we got Vegeto, who I think is a good character. I think we'll put Vegeto like right here. Vegeto, incredible neutral, man. Like his 5L, everyone's talked about this move to death, but it's a problem. That move is a problem. And his projectile, I think, I definitely underrated it at the beginning. I was like, oh, if you can super dash through it, it's not good. But it doesn't really matter because it's so fast. Most people aren't really going to be able to super dash that on reaction. So it's kind of like a guessing game. And if they guess wrong on the super dash, he's going to put you in a world of hurt because he is one of the more damaging characters in the game. His only real issue is lack of mix-up. But if paired with a couple assists, you can usually make it work with stuff like... his 6M, you know, a lot of people say like his 6M is harder to block than most characters because it kind of looks similar to some of his other moves that don't hit overhead, like his, you know, 2M. I don't particularly subscribe to that philosophy, but I do feel like when I play against Vegeto, I'm like, why would I ever get opened up by this character? But then all of a sudden I do, you know. He like calls an assist and does a cross-up or something like that. Or he can do like really annoying pressure with his like air downward sword thing. You always think you're safe to press a button, but then when you do, you're just getting frame trapped and you get hit into like 60% of your life bar. So he's a pretty annoying character to deal with. Incredible neutral. I think he needs assists to get anything done. If he's coming in last, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. But as a point character, he's really solid. Great neutral, great damage. His one big problem is just he doesn't have like any super easy mix-ups to do. But when paired with assists, I think he can usually make up for that issue. So that's why we're putting him up here. So this is pretty much the whole list here. I guess if I was going to adjust this, here's what I would do. I would maybe slide these guys down, slide all these fools down, and let's see if we can branch this out into another tier here. So I think if we're going to move some characters down a tier, I think we'll move Trunks down one. I think maybe we'll move like Ginyu down one. Team Gohan maybe. I don't know. I'm not that confident in that. I think we'll just go ahead and keep this as like a pretty packed tier here. There's something like that. So I think I'm pretty happy with this. I'm certain that we're gonna have some lively conversation in the comments. So be sure to let me know down below. What do you guys agree with? What do you guys disagree with? What do you think that I'm way off about? Be sure to roast me down there in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this sort of in-depth tier talk. Hope this was fun for you. It was a lot of fun for me to do it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.